Previous evenings, Ronnie Duncan shared memories of his friendship with the great Sidney Graham, and Bob Devereux looked back at his own career as poet, painter, and performer, and that was a wonderful evening, which you can still see on YouTube. We'll have a look at that one. Evelyn, I think, would include, amongst others as well, as we'll discuss, both Sidney and Bob as influences on her own writing. So tonight we'll explore together her artistic journey. We'll talk for about an hour. Evelyn's going to read some of her poems, and then we will have time for one or two questions at the end, if you have any. Okay. So, Evelyn, that double portrait, not this one, but the one we were looking at before, can you say a little bit about that?
Yes. I have and had a very good friend, Lillian Bierbaum, and she was a very good and very successful photographer for a long time. She did film stunts and books and exhibitions, and since the digitalization, people don't pay for photography. She's got a film firm now, but this photograph she made with me drinking coffee with myself, and it's very old, of course, but it's the best photograph of me I have, so I use it for occasions like today.
Was the double portrait her interpretation of you, or was that something that you suggested to her?
A little bit, maybe. We nobody has just one personality, but I think it has also to do with the fact that a lot of my life happens in coffee shops.
And would you say that coffee shops in Vienna are better than coffee shops in Ives?
It's not a fair comparison because it's like an not an institution, but they have international newspapers there, not only Austrians, New York Times, German ones, French one, Italian, and it is has a long history. Artists, writers, etc. I mean, everybody can meet there, but it's always been a meeting place for creative people also, and there is also something like a coffee shop theater in the cellar, a couple of places, and because I don't drink alcohol, and I go there on my own to read the paper, but I also meet friends and colleagues there.
So you first came to St. Ives in 1995?
Yes.
And since then your life has really been divided between St. Ives?
The first 6 years, the first time I came, I stayed the whole summer. And thanks to Bob, I became part of the Norway Square and the Frug, and I met all these lovely people, and I kept him from getting on with anything by staying hours in the Salt House and having wonderful conversations with him and listening to his poetry. As soon as I came into the Salt House, he did Seascape, and now he's an incredibly important and wonderful friend, and I appreciate that all this we have now, Norway Square, the Frug, all these things we have now are thanks to Bob.
Amazing.
So you first came as a holiday maker?
I came, yes, I treated myself, it was around my 40th birthday.
Okay.
And I I was recovering from a bit of a difficult time, so I decided I want to spend a long time by the sea and somewhere. I've spent a lot of time of my life speaking English, so somewhere where I can. But also, I found out about St. Ives because there was a film on the television where Roy Ray walks around St. Ives, and originally I thought it was France. I thought it was St. Ives, and but then when I tried to decide where I'm gonna go, I looked at places on the coast, you know, and it was the best decision I've ever made, you know. I can remember I arrived here in June, got out of the little train, and I very quickly had a sense of belonging. Yes.
So were you aware that St. Ives was a sort of refuge for artists, a sort of colony?
Yes.
Yeah.
After I've decided to come here, I did. And also I had already read a lot of Virginia Woolf and George Lawrence.
Yeah.
I didn't know when I actually read them that it was St. Ives.
Yes.
I knew it was Cornwall, but I didn't know that it was St. Ives.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, that was a big part of having this sense of belonging, and also everybody's so friendly. Strangers say hello in the street, and I've had quite a few things happen to me here, which I don't need to reiterate, you know, and everybody was really, everybody in good and in bad times, everybody's just wonderful.
So you experienced a sense of belonging? No?
Yes, and also that they were prepared to listen to my poetry, so.
Well, we're also prepared to listen to your poetry. Maybe you could read
The first one.
The first one now.
Yes, which is very
Tell us a little
practically
bit.
the first one in this book.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about this poem.
It is what made well. It's not everything. It's a short poem, but it's kind of essence of the motivation to write, and that is one of the things I love about poetry, is that you can get down to the essence. You don't have to write 200 pages. You can say what you want to say, and I don't know. I at some stage I tried to write a novel, but it is just not me. It is what presents itself at the moment. I did write some plays, as you know, but they are also very close to poetry.
Yeah.
So anyway, why? Because now is gone now. Because reality is not enough. Because I remember. Because I read. Because words are sounds. Because sounds are music. Because I am my words. Because they are a bridge you can cross. Because they push me forwards. Because they stay behind.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. So do those poems come very quickly, or do they sort of take a long time to distill?
The first draft is usually very quick, and then I read it aloud to myself, and if it doesn't work, rhythm or if I find some word is wrong or whatever, I work on it. But I became more confident, of course, over the years. I, I started when I was about 15, and it was a big secret. I didn't think of myself as a poet, you know. And then I met someone who edited a literary magazine in a kind of music club, and like the biggest of all secrets, I said, I write poetry. And he published it. It wasn't brilliant, you know, but you have to start somewhere. He published three poems in this magazine, and then I started thinking, because I wasn't good at anything, you know, like physically, my hands were mainly decoration and stuff. So I thought maybe this is a way for me to have, and then I always read a lot, still do. And when I discovered Kafka, that was very encouraging for me, because his writing is full of fear and all that, and I thought, wow, you know, you can use this without having a moan on the page, you know, you can create something out of this. Not that I compare myself to Kafka, but he was, it helped me to think that you can use whatever you experience and do something with it.
We'll talk a little bit about the experience influences later on, but we'll just sort of look at this. I asked Edith to choose some photographs to show. So, and these are the ones that she selected. So, how old would you have been in this photograph, Evelyn?
3.
About
Like
3,
that.
yeah.
I mean, obviously I don't remember, but that's what it looks like to me.
And this was in the garden?
No, that must have been on holiday. We didn't have a garden, so that must have been on holiday. We went.
So this was in Vienna, but you lived in Vienna, but you didn't have a garden there. So
No. This must have been in Italy. We went to Grado quite a lot, which is near Trieste. And later on, not when I was so small, but later on we also went to Croatia. And I don't know if I can remember, but seeing the sea, I fell in love with the sea on first sight. I just looked at it and looked at it and looked at it. Eventually, of course, I learned to swim, but not at this stage. But I just loved being by the sea. And the Italians love children, so bambini, bambini, and all I wanted to eat was pasta. First course pasta, second course pasta. So, yeah.
I love the delicately placed hair clip in that picture. Something very tender about that, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't remember the details of this situation, but I know that I was happy to be in nature in general.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. And this is
on the beach also.
This is also on the beach. And this is you with your mum?
This is my mother. Was my mother. Yes.
Yeah. And this is about the same age, I imagine.
This is, yes, yeah, maybe little bit older. I don't remember. I just thought I want to have one photograph in this where I'm close to her, because me and my family was not really a success story. But this, I was happy that she brought me there. Let's put it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be a family holiday, like this.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a lovely place.
It was always in July because my parents had shops for ladies' clothes, and August was always sales, so they had to be in the shop.
August was.
Uh, Sale.
Oh,
the
sales.
Yeah, yeah.
So what did they do?
They sold clothes for ladies.
Clothes for ladies. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And was your father a tailor or?
My father was a businessman.
Yeah. Yeah.
He went to fairs. He didn't make the clothes himself. He went to Milan and to Munich and to London,
Okay.
and he didn't speak English. So, but he was originally from Czernowitz,
Right.
which was Romania, Austria, and now it's Ukraine.
So your parents were successful.
And no, my mother was from Vienna.
Okay. And your parents were successful in the business of it.
Yes, he was a good businessman.
And did your mum work with him?
Yes, she worked in one of the shops,
Yeah.
and she liked doing that. She liked everything to do with fashion. And so.
Right. Yeah. She looks quite sort of fashionable.
So,
Yeah. That's it.
yeah.
Good. What's the next point that you have for us?
The moment,
Yeah.
which is also very short.
This poem intrigues me because, well, I'll tell you why afterwards. I think I understand why. Say something about this one.
Well, poetry is very much about what is, I mean, it doesn't have to happen now, but what is in your mind or in your being at the moment.
Yeah.
That is the one thing. And the other thing, it is what I love about theater. Not, I love other things about theater as well.
Hmm.
But it always happens here and now. Always. And whenever I go to the theater, I'm with the actors on the stage, you know, I worry if they stumble or forget their lines or whatever. And I also have some friends who are actors and directors, but in Vienna. But I have a lot of history, of course, in my poetry as well. But it's the history that is there now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So.
The history
This
that-
also has a bit of
Yeah.
humor, which is why
Yes.
one of the reasons why I chose it. The moment. The moment I entered, the lights went on. The moment I entered, Romeo dropped Julia on the stage. The moment I entered, the cake disappeared. I was left with carrots. The moment I entered, we waited for Godot together. The moment I entered, Julia recovered and embraced Hamlet. The moment I entered, the curtain fell.
It's very self-deprecating. That is that.
Is it?
I think it's all, the way I read it. It's almost as though the moment I entered, the curtain fell. That it was after the event. It was.
But the whole thing doesn't get the timing right, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why is it Julia and not Juliet?
That I don't know. That's probably a mistake.
I
You
like
know,
this good, though, it fits with
you told me that, but I've lived in two languages for many years now. But I don't. That's probably also a mistake. I don't put dates on poems, so I don't know how long ago I wrote this. But Uh,
The mistake fits with the poem, though.
yes,
That's what I'm saying.
but it, it, I just thought Julia, and because in German it's Romeo and Julia.
Ah, right.
And I just, I mean, I've been to English theatre, Shakespeare, etc. I've been to the Shakespeare theatre because, and in Stratford. But you know, these things happen when you write. If you have this, if you go backwards and forwards between two languages all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
I think that's a sort of happy accident in a way. Sort of very nice. Let's have another photograph. Now this is
A wedding.
an intriguing part of your autobiography. Tell us about this photograph.
We had a secret civil wedding.
So this is you getting
So this
married.
is the getting married, and well, it's obvious what happens on the photograph. But this is Steve, who I met because he was sitting next to me on a plane from Tel Aviv to London, and I took something out of the, what do you call it, the baggage place, and it fell on his head. So that's how we met, and he was or is, I don't even know, from Leamington Spa, which is not very far from Oxford, where I lived at the time. So he hired a car at Heathrow and gave me a lift, and we had a meal together, and he was between two jobs, so he came quite often to see me, and things developed.
So how long did you know each other before you decided to get married?
We were together for about a year,
Right.
and somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that this is not the one, but I didn't want to know. So
Yeah.
he was not as crazy as I am.
Yeah. And
You know.
did that become
Yeah.
obvious, the difference?
Well,
Or did you rein it in?
he needed a nice little housewife who thinks about nothing than what's for dinner, and I'm the absolute opposite of that. I'm very clumsy, and I mean, obviously, I also think what about dinner, but it is not doesn't the main thing in my mind. And it was, as long as I was in Oxford, it was fine. But he worked for JCB, so we spent a year in Uttoxeter. And Uttoxeter has one street with 15 pubs, so if you're an alcoholic, you're fine. But no bookshop, no coffee shop, no theater. So I started doing crosswords to use my mind, and the cultural highlight was once a week he had a car, and once a week we went to Stafford for a movie and a curry. So, yeah.
So would you stop writing poetry at this point, or?
Yes.
So
I didn't get into that space at all.
did you sort of just decide that was?
No, I didn't decide. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Just you need some kind of books and something, you know. And also, I don't know if any of you remember Fritz the Cat.
Yeah.
It was a little bit like that. The women was talked about nothing but clothes, makeup, and cooking, and gossip, and the men talked about nothing but cars and sport. I'm not saying it is wrong. I'm just saying that we didn't have enough in common.
You look a very stylish couple, in my opinion.
Well, you dress up when you get married.
No, you definitely inherited your mother's fashion sense
No,
there.
no,
I'd
no,
say.
no,
You don't think so?
no, not at all. Usually I'm like this.
No, but I mean at this
But
moment.
no, but when you get married, you know, I mean, no,
And your red hair?
yeah, it was red.
Yeah.
It's not colored. It was
No,
red.
no.
Just from getting younger, you know. and art and literature didn't figure in that family at all. My mother loved classical music,
Hmm.
so she dragged my father there every now and then. Sometimes he started snoring, and but for them, what I was doing was just a waste of time.
Yeah.
They were very much about money, about something you can brag with when you meet your friends, about looks. It was all a lot of surface, and there was no warmth, no depth. They both came from poor families, so it wasn't like they always had this. They worked pretty hard. They had for many years they had just one small shop, and in the end they had 3 shops.
Right. So they worked very hard.
Yeah. So and I was a failure for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Another. This is another.
That is also the wedding.
So this is the evening.
So
And these
so these are my parents.
these are your parents. That's
Yes.
your mum
Yeah.
and your dad.
I always say the cake was the best thing about the marriage.
What's an impressive cake?
and the name. I'm very happy that I've got an English name.
Yeah. But where did you get married? Where was it? Where?
In Vienna.
In
This
Vienna?
was in a palais.
In Vienna.
Yes.
Oh.
Which was hired out for things like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And how many guests were there? Looks quite quite a do.
There were maybe 20, 25, but there was only one who was there for me. Lillian, who I told, she was my best friend in school already, so we know each other 60 years. And she and her then boyfriend came, and all the others were friends of my parents.
Right.
Yeah.
So just one of your friends that supported you. And Steve?
Steve's mother was there. His father died when he was 1. He had an electric shock, changing a life.
Wow. It's very handsome. You both do. It's wonderful to see that. And your parents were very happy that you obviously got married.
Yeah, I mean, I might get over time if I tell so many stories.
No, that's all right.
But I had a favorite aunt who was not a blood relative. She was my mother's sister-in-law, and we loved each other from the minute I met her, which was about 3, and they got married. I was about 3, and she spoke lots of languages. She wrote them all wrong, but she spoke lots of. She was from Uruguay, and she spoke lots of languages. My father didn't have any English,
Right.
so she translated. And she said all the things my father wanted to hear. When I introduced him to my father. So it was difficult to keep a straight face. But that's what happened. So my mother had a little bit of English because, you know, there were lots of tourists, shoppers in the city center, so she had a bit of English.
Yeah. Just looking at the next.
Oh, that's very, very suitable because the next is a letter to my father.
Yes. This is a very powerful poem.
Letter to the past, to my father. Like a photographic gallery or an archive of sounds, you start to fade. And yet, I'm still fighting the fears you planted, the judgment you passed on a life just begun. I see you at the head of the table, reading your paper. I see you returning from Sunday walks with bunches of lilac. I see you in your shop, surrounded by shirts and skirts, coats and jackets. I see you in the coffee shop playing cards. I see you on Jewish holidays saying a prayer and drinking sweet wine from a silver cup. I see your big hand hitting till I fall. I see you lost in the city center. I looked for you and took you home. I see you in hospital, not knowing where you are. I see you at your funeral. It was snowing in March. I hear you shouting at me to be different, like other girls. But there was always this pain in my head. It made me fall away from consciousness. I hear you telling stories about your sisters who had long hair and brushed it till it was shining, about your brothers who worked in the steelworks like you, about your first wife who was a tailor, all of them murdered in the war. I hear you in hospital asking if I was staying in this hotel too. I cannot hear you at your funeral. The snow silenced everything. I still hear you shouting in my mind, but don't be afraid anymore. It is over.
That's wonderful. That's an incredible poem. When did you write that one? How long ago?
Quite a long time ago. I was part of an English-speaking poetry group in Vienna. We performed a lot. We were invited to festivals, Seattle, India, Prague, Macedonia. I took them here to the festival, and so on, Romania. And this was one of the poems where I didn't change a single letter.
Really?
I wrote it like this and I left it like this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
To be
And
germinating from.
I didn't plan that, but it was. I didn't hear him shouting in my mind anymore after I wrote it. So it's
Some
yeah.
sort of exorcism.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. So,
That's Dave.
so
This was a fancy dress at New Year's Eve, and I put it in.
is this in Vienna or? in
No,
St.
here
Ives?
in St. Ives, they always
Famously, yes.
wear fancy dresses at New Year's Eve, and I put it in because a lot of the stuff I talk about is very serious, and that's all.
Yeah. So were you living in St. Ives at this point? You sort of partaking
Yes,
in all the
yes.
community very much more.
I moved here 2001.
Yeah. You said a little bit about the impact of St. Ives in terms of the community and the friendships you sort of.
It started with the beauty of it, but very quickly, thanks to Bob and the people I met through Bob, I felt at home here. I felt accepted, and I still do after 25 years. And I came 6 times as a tourist, and then I felt so included and so at home, you know, that I decided to buy this little house, and I'm very happy that I did.
Yeah. And so this was you
This
participating in the
is
local
yes.
traditions.
Well, yeah, I stopped doing it at some stage because you can only wear the things once.
Here's another
But
photo.
it shows, we all know what that is.
Yeah.
Norway
That's in the
Square.
other- Yeah. This is
And,
Norway Square and you look like that.
And
This
which is
Bob.
wonderful.
So
We
this
all love it.
yeah, and this is Bob in the Square.
Yes.
And obviously Bob was a big influence on
And it's always a special time.
yeah.
Yeah. And
There's no wind that day. So
that is me reading in the Salt House. And there was a painter living here. They moved back to Oxford, but there was a painter living here called Elsia Richards. And she was a very good friend of mine. Then she decided she doesn't want to from one minute to the other, but for years she was a good friend. And we made Tony Carver, who sadly died, printed 2 books with her prints and my poems. Small, you know, just a few pages. And that's what I'm reading from there.
I wonder if anyone's got one of those. I wonder if anyone's got a copy.
I think I must have given it to. I don't remember if I gave it to you, Bob, but I did give it to a few people. We didn't have many. We didn't make many copies. I've got it, of course.
And that's one of her works in the frame.
And that no, that's Bob's work.
Okay. And the ceramics.
Yeah, that's Bob's work. She had exhibitions in the Crypt Gallery and in the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a poetry reading.
Yeah.
That's the event.
That was a poetry reading, and I also read from my first book, from this one, in the Salt House Gallery.
Okay.
And Bob sold poetry books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very thrilling place for a lot of people.
And yeah,
Time for another poem.
there were quite a lot of people there actually. Yes.
Where are we actually?
Poem against fear.
Yeah.
Caress a leaf, kiss a dog, adorn your sleep, empty the glass, cradle the book, embrace the air, tickle the grass, hurt no child, learn in your dreams, write down what is, nourish the day, do not hesitate. Stay like snow, open the door, invite someone, give yourself, ride across fields, rest a while, touch the world.
So going back a little bit to an incident that fascinates me, which is the moment you met Samuel Beckett. And I don't know, you're probably familiar with this poem, but when I first heard it, I assumed it was a made-up poem, that it couldn't possibly be true. And then Evelyn assured me that it was in fact based on an actual event.
Yes. When I was 16, I ran away from home because things were horrible, but especially my father lost his temper because I spilled something over lunch and broke my nose. So he could be very violent, and I wasn't the kind of daughter they wanted. I was ill, and that made me a bit less pretty, although you saw me as a child, it wasn't that bad. So anyway, I waited till they are all sleeping and ran away, and first I went to my friend Lillian again. I had good relationship with her mother also, and I had a little money because whenever I wanted something from my mother, she gave me like the equivalent of £5 or something, and say buy yourself chocolate or whatever, and I didn't want the chocolate, I wanted my mother. So I had a drawer full of coins and small money, and my friend's mother lent me some money, and at that time there were very cheap charter flights in the middle of the night usually. So I always liked English, England, the literature, etc., etc. I read a lot of it, most of it in the original, and I decided I'm going to go to England, and the first bus that goes to a university town, that's where I go. And they let me on the plane, although I was underage, because it was obvious what had happened to me by the way I looked. And I ended up in Oxford. And I went to the hostel, and I looked for a job, and my hands were, I'm still clumsy, but at that time they were like that, you know. And I met this very kind person who gave me a job as a waitress in a discotheque. So you can imagine how well that went. But I learned that the same thing can be wrong and can be right, because I spilled something again, and this time it was very good, because this guy said, "You're much too young, what are you doing here?" I said, "I want to write poetry, etc., etc." And he said, "I am the director of the Oxford Academy of English," which was sleeping in and eating in. And he said, you can have that for a third of the normal money, which was very, very little. And it was ideal for me because language was always my thing. I didn't have any problems there. I already knew English, and anyway, it was very nice. It was like completely international, and you met people from all over the world, and it was a nice part of Oxford near the University Park. And I ended up working for the Oxford Poetry Press, not as a poet, but I delivered them to the shops, etc. And at some stage, they also took a poem, but that wasn't. And so I had this report saying excellent, which was very important because apart from English and German literature, my reports from school weren't that excellent because I had a very kind mathematics teacher because my geometry was like abstract art, but she understood that and she didn't make me repeat the year because of that. And it was very good for this Oxford Academy was very good for my self-confidence because I sailed through this thing.
Where did you go?
And then I moved into a bedsit and did A-levels. And I was always a cafe person, even then. And there was, and still is, I was told, a cafe called the Nosebag. And I often went there after college. And it was basically students and tourists, you know. They had it was self-service, and they had nice things there, not too expensive. Cut a long story short, I very early discovered Beckett, and I read everything apart from the few French poems that weren't translated because I don't know French. I read everything. I went to the theater whenever possible, when there was a Beckett play on. And I look up from my books, and like as far as you are from me, Beckett sat there reading the Times and drinking tea. And I had a fight with myself, and I told myself, if you don't do this, you will never forgive yourself. This is one of the things in life that says, do it, just do it. So I went there, and I said, introduced myself, and he had this very stern face, and this stern face opened up into a big smile, and he said, sit down, and then we had a conversation, and we had dinner together, and I didn't have anything elegant at all, you know. I had a few pairs of jeans and that was it, but that didn't matter at all. At that time, you were supposed to dress, I mean, it wasn't a posh restaurant, but still, you know, you were supposed to. But nobody cared what I was wearing. So I was much too shy to ask for an address or for anything like that. So it was a one-off, but it changed my life because to hear from somebody like that you have to continue writing, and that he saw something there, you know. And whenever I had doubts, I remembered that and continued most of the time. Utoxeter was like a sleeping pill for the brain. Nothing.
But your
Yes,
epic poem,
yes.
which recalls the meeting.
Okay. I have to look in where it is. Oh, here it is. Sometimes they hide. Bit of clowning,
Rehearse this.
unintentional clowning. Meeting. Oxford, October 1973. St. Michael's Road. A lane in the town centre, along uneven cobbles, past gabled houses and up old winding stairs. The nosebag. Long tables full of students, lecturers, tourists. Music in the background, maybe Chopin. I sit down with my pot of tea, take books from my bag, Chaucer, statistics, a dictionary. I'm 17. Discovering writing, I scribble signs to prove my existence. The echo in my head, the only answer in a world full of questions. I come here most days after college. Routine calms me down. This is an island of safety. Suddenly, I see his face. Step down from book covers. A furrowed face, a landscape of thought. I waited for Godot. So people stuck in bins. So many figures of his universe. They were my relatives, damned to exist, alone, but forced to speak incessantly, tell as it is to nobody. And there he sits and drinks his tea like me, his face buried in the Times. I summon all my courage as I move towards him. No idea what to say, just know I have to meet him. He puts down his paper and smiles. I blush and say, sorry to disturb you, I had to. He points to a chair. I sit down and say my name. He looks at me as if he sees all I was and all I'll ever be. My fear falls away. The cage door opens. I talk about his work and what it means to me. I say to me it is all poetry, but words to touch, to hear and see. Surprised by this passion, he asks, are you a student? I study for my A-levels, but I write poetry and want to write a play. In English? Yes, this is my home now. Can I have a look? I spread my papers on the table. Sorry about my handwriting. Can't be worse than mine. He reads concentrated. It seems to take forever. And just before my heart bursts, he looks at me. You've got a lot to say and your own way of saying it. You have to keep working, no matter what. It's just the craft that needs work. Only a matter of practice. I can't believe what I hear. My head is spinning. He smiles again. May I take you to dinner tonight? Yes, what an honor, but what? I only have jeans. I had to pack quickly. And if we go to buy a dress, a souvenir? Oh, no, you don't need to. It will be a pleasure. And so he buys a dress for me, green with splinters of glass stitched to the front. Sam and I go to a bistro and talk like old friends. Since then, I trust my words to fly like birds into the windows of my mind.
Right. This is an episode where I
That's
think
Eve.
this is in Paris,
No, this is in Israel.
in Israel. Okay.
After my marriage, I spent some time in Israel because I had relatives there and this favorite aunt I told you about, and I went to a language school and learned Hebrew, and when this happened, I lived in a very, very small one-room sublet, which was quite funny because the shower was in the kitchen and the fridge was on the loo, and it was in the old city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem and Tel Aviv are different worlds, but they're only 1 hour by bus away apart. And that was always why I loved Beckett. I was interested what happens before language and what happens after language. So I was interested in mime, and there was this little theater called Safta, which actually means seagull, and they had a poster advertising mime courses. So I went in there, and I went to this course, and I don't remember the second or third time I was there. The director came in and said, "We need somebody right now because the clown has broken something, hand or foot, I don't remember. And we need somebody now." And everybody was hiding away. There were only about 7 people in this class. And they chose me for some reason. So there I was on the stage. I had a glove which it was a children's show. Every finger had a different color. I had a costume which I didn't know had magnets. And I had a what do you call it, jumping rope?
Skipping. Skipping rope.
Jumping
Skipping
rope?
rope.
Yeah.
Skipping rope.
Yeah, which I couldn't do, so I didn't have to act very much. And from one second to the other, I had to decide what to do. So I was a child, nobody wanted to play with. Then I was a cat who played with this jumping rope. The fingers communicated with each other, the different colors, etc., etc. I got through an hour like this, and then they asked me to do this for real, and I said yes. I need a costume that fits. I could hardly breathe in that thing. They squeezed me in. I need a director who works for me. I'm not a professional clown. Works with me, sorry. And I need someone to do the makeup and something to wear. So there I am.
Wow.
Yeah, and
it's amazing how often chance and coincidence play a part in the things that happen
yeah,
to you.
it is. I mean, the best thing that ever happened is me landing here.
Yeah.
Bob changed my life completely. I became part of the community, etc., friends, and everything. So it's 25 years now since I have the house.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We've got a couple more poems.
Yes.
Next one is Smash Text.
Smash text. Yes. And this one.
This one I thought.
This one is a political response to what is happening, and
it's on page 68. 68.
And there is a sort of writers association in Vienna, and they have a website, and they asked for political poems, and I sent them this one.
Very cool.
Smash text. Stone, scaffold, skeleton, bones of the world. Blood, gas, broken pieces, debris. Bombs, grenade, guns. Hammer, axe, knife, fist. In your head, in your heart, in your bowels. Where does pain live? Where fear? Where hate? Where the joy of destruction? Memory, the price, living with memory. Weight on your shoulders, fear of repetition, bodies everywhere, remembrance. Smash war in your head, shadow of fists in your neck, smash the fear, think, live, now.
Yeah, we could, or yes, let's read that one in German. I thought it would be interesting to hear would it be written originally in German?
No, they're all written in English and translated into German.
But let's
Yeah.
hear it in the German version.
Zertrümmerungstext. Stein, Gerüst, Skelett, Weltknochen. Blut, Gas, Scherben, Schutt. Bomben, Granaten, Gewehre. Hammer, Axt, Messer, Faust. Im Kopf, im Herzen, in den Gedärmen. Wo? Wo wohnt Schmerz? Wo Angst? Wo Hass? Wo die Lust am Zerstören? Erinnerung, der Preis. Leben mit Erinnerung. Gewicht auf den Schultern, Angst vor Wiederholung, überall Tote, Gedenken, zertrümmern, den Krieg im Kopf, im Nacken die Schattenfaust, zertrümmern die Angst, denken, leben, jetzt.
We're getting near the end,
Yes.
and
So this is, you know where this is.
yeah. So when would this have been taken?
That was before I lived here,
Ah,
but I had a friend called Martin Goodman who actually lived in the flat above the Salt House with his girlfriend, and he took this photograph, and I'm gonna finish with a poem that goes with this photograph because it's called In Hair.
yeah. Very much about the landscape as well, isn't it?
And you don't always just have things you like in your hair here. In hair, wind in hair, sound of sea, sun on skin, wind in sea, sound of hair, sun on sand, wind on skin, sound of sand, sun on hair, sand in hair, sun on sea, wind in tree, sound of birds, birds on sea, birds on sand, birds in hair.
That's wonderful, Evelyn. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for doing this with me, and thank you for coming.
Yeah. Has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask you? Anything that occurs to them as you were hearing the stories?
Evelyn, you know when you said about that you landed up in Oxford when you sort of.
Sorry.
You know when you said about going away and from your father.
Yeah.
Did you ever make a connection with your father again?
Sorry, can you come? My hearing is not.
Oh, no worries. Yeah.
Sorry about
No,
that.
I just wondered. You know when you said about sort of getting away from
Yeah.
your father. Did you ever connect with your family again? Or
I did, but not a good one.
no?
Apart from this aunt I told you about, and a cousin who's still there in Tel Aviv with her family.
Mm.
All the generation of my parents is gone
Yeah.
now, and but I didn't in the actual family I didn't fit in. When I was a child, I thought they found me on the street or something like that. I just didn't fit in at all.
Yeah.
But I'm still in touch with this cousin. I'm completely against the politics there, of course, but I have a connection.
Yeah.
My mother survived the war there, and she was the only one of 5 who actually came back to Vienna because she met my father.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Did you feel like you were born in the wrong place almost?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, a bit like a black sheep. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know that feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then when you came here, you felt like you had found where you belonged almost. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds like
To my dad.
I'm surprised how often things just seem to happen out of coincidence.
Yeah.
Do you think that part of you was just listening and open to seeing things as they cropped up, and when they did crop up, you recognised them straight away? Do you think that somewhere in your mind you were already kind of half focusing on these opportunities before they jumped at you?
it's interesting that, isn't it?
The first draft just happens. But most of the time. but then I read it aloud to myself, and I work on it. I work on it, but never very long actually.
No, I didn't quite mean that with the writing. I meant
Uh,
bumping into people who were able to have a big impact on your life, going to places, you know, choosing Oxford when it could have been any university town. Those coincidences in your life, not necessarily
Yes.
in your writing.
there were a lot of
Do you think that in order
there were a lot of things like pointing in a direction.
yes.
And which was very lucky, because to be honest, I think I wouldn't have survived if I would have stayed at home. At least mentally, I wouldn't have survived, and I certainly wouldn't have the courage to be a writer, you know. Because my family was so materialist, I didn't expect. I never thought of having a big career. I didn't. I mean, for me, it was a miracle that some poems were published when I was 15 in this magazine, and then I have several books now. I also have 2 in German. Actually, one arrived in the post yesterday. It's a booklet. There is a magazine where I published sometimes, and when you reach 60 or 70 or something like that, they do like a jubilee thing. And that arrived in the post yesterday.
So that's a miracle. There's chance, there's coincidence. There's lots of things happening.
But isn't every life like this? I mean, you know, when you start off, you don't, how soon did you know that you wanted to be an actor?
Probably when I was at school, just for leaving school. But yeah, but I don't think, I think there's a sense with you that you're going away from something, and then almost a helping hand comes along and
Yes.
you change direction. And
Yes, I mean,
for the better.
lots of the bad things that happened I didn't put into poetry, because
No.
when I was married, I was stuck in Beirut during the Civil War, and I saw somebody being killed. And I didn't put everything into my poetry, because I don't want people to cry when they read my poems, you know. So I don't.
Well, there are lovely contrasts there.
I don't. My life is. There's very little in the middle.
That's
Wonderful things like this happen, and less wonderful things also happen, like in every life.
Yeah.
Most people have some sort of normality. I mean, I do, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else got a question? I think somebody else had their hand up.
Can I
Sorry.
add? Yeah, when I hear your poems, and I find them somehow deeply human.
thank
Yeah,
you.
and I don't know how you do that. Except it touches me, and I get touched by them,
Yeah.
and it's great.
Thank
I
you.
love that.
Thank you.
Is there any? I've just got a question around. Is there anything beyond that in your belief system in terms of faith, or religion, or spirituality? Is that also going on in your thinking, or your work? Or is it just
I
humanity?
translate. I have translated lots of not only literature, also secondary books, and many years I lived. That's what I lived from for many years. And the only proper job. I had 2 proper jobs. One was at the university in Vienna as a secretary, and the other one was in an office in Tel Aviv as a secretary. But most of my life, in one way or another, was to do with literature. Apart from Uttoxeter. As I said.
I think the gentleman was asking if there was any kind of spiritual belief system. That's just a paraphrase. if there's any kind of belief system that underpins your writing, whether it be religious or spiritual or whatever.
No, it was.
Because as he said, it's a very human.
Yes,
writing.
It was and to a certain extent is the only thing I feel confident about, and also performing. I'm not nervous. I was at the beginning, of course, but now I enjoy it, and there isn't anything else. I mean, I don't normal things like saw or whatever, I'm very happy that I've got one thing I feel confident about doing.
And that's the stage.
Yeah.
Take one more question if anyone.
That's a good. Yes?
I've always been fascinated, Evelyn, that you write poetry in English.
I write in English.
I mean, German obviously is your first language, but is
Yes.
your first language in
Yes.
literature English? You think poetry in English?
I started very early, as soon as I had enough English, I started writing in English because it puts a distance between things in my life I need a distance from. Not only my family, but also very early on, much too early on in my life, I saw images from the Holocaust. I heard terrible things that I didn't understand yet, and I was when I was very young, I was fascinated by some things about Judaism, we went to the synagogue on the main holidays. I loved the music, the cantor, but afterwards there was no spirituality at all. It was all about who is wearing what and who does this person have a new boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. There was no, and the way they treated me, you can't treat somebody like that if you are truly religious. And I was never religious. I was spiritual maybe to a certain extent. I felt it. I felt when I was a child, and there was a child in the park crying or something. I went up to that poor child and hugged it, because it was frightened, because it didn't know who I am. But I always had this. I recognize this, and of course I don't do this anymore. But I think the only thing that can ever make this world better is love. Every kind of love. And I often give love to people who don't want it, but it's better than not giving it at all.
Well, I think that's a good place to end. Well, thanks so much, Evelyn, for sharing those insights, which enlighten us a lot.
Yes,
about
and
poetry.
thank you again for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you to Steve. Thank you very much, Steve, for helping with all the technology, and Joe as well. Thank you for filming this event. Thank you all for coming along. It's been wonderful to have an audience, and I'm sure you've enjoyed this much as I have. All right, see you again.
Amazing. Yes, amazing.
Yeah, you could do it like that, definitely. Yeah. What did you think?